Well, this little segment I've been recording on a Sony ZV-1. This is what's looking at me now. They look like this. These are little vlogging cameras that we've been experimenting with as a possible way to get higher quality recordings onto your computer. Now, these are fairly standard digital cameras, but they have some nice features. Firstly, they have a little flippable screen, so you can see yourself and use it for selfies. They have a zoom, of course, which is the kind of thing you don't get on cheap webcams, and they have much higher quality of lens and sensor and so forth. So these are very capable cameras. And the way I'm recording this at the moment, what you're seeing is that I have got, there's a micro USB, mini USB, sorry, there's a micro HDMI or mini HDMI connector on here, and I have an HDMI cable going out of the Sony camera into one of these. This is a Camlink 4K. This is basically a USB HDMI capture device. So you have an HDMI cable going into it, you plug it into your USB, and you get an MPEG movie out. And this turns a regular digital camera, and it might be this, or you might have one you can use yourself, into something that looks like a USB webcam type thing, which means you can use it for Zoom or Teams or Skype, or you can use it for recording your lectures direct to your laptop. You can, of course, also put an SD card in here and record to an SD card. One thing you do need to be aware of if using any digital camera for video is that many of them will have a limited recording time. So they perhaps will record to a 4 GB file size and then stop, or they may record to 29 minutes because of MPEG licensing and import duty, and it's complex. But don't assume that you can take your camera, put a nice big SD card in it, point it at you and film for an hour. It probably won't work. However, most things that can output a clean HDMI signal, by a clean HDMI signal I mean that one that doesn't show you down here the focus point and the aperture and the shutter speed and so on. If you can produce a clean HDMI out from your camera, then you can probably record almost indefinitely with it, depending on the hard disk space that you have available on whatever you're recording on. It may get hot, it may use a lot of storage, there may be all sorts of reasons why you can't record indefinitely, but it's a pretty good way of actually recording lectures where you want higher quality video. Especially if you are the person, if there's going to be a lot of just talking to camera like this, if the camera is going to be looking at you a lot, then you want something probably higher quality than you may get from just that. However, this does of course increase complexity quite a lot. You need to understand these different capabilities. There are dozens and dozens of menus, and I literally mean of menus, not just of menu settings in here, where you can configure it, and we'll try and provide some guidance about how to get that right, but it's very easy, for example, to generate much bigger files than you need and so on. Having said that, once you get it sorted, it works very nicely, and what I'm doing here is I have the video coming through one of those HDMI adapters going onto my laptop, the audio coming from the Blue Yeti. This is a very nice combination. Now you might notice, if you're very sensitive to this, that my lip sync may not be quite right. And that's because the HDMI path does introduce some latencies. So if you're very sensitive to this, you may want to use some more sophisticated video editing software to synchronize the audio and the video after the event, to make sure that they're perfectly in sync. Either that, or you use a camera you use a microphone that's feeding analog audio into the camera, so that's also coming over the HDMI stream, and we'll have a look at that. We may end up offering that as an option. However, when you get used to these cameras, they are quite capable, and you can do some nice things like control them from your smartphone even while they're outputting an HDMI stream. So I can zoom in a bit, for example, I can zoom out, and I can stop and start recordings and things like that using my phone, which is a very nice thing to be able to do. So definitely, if you want the best image quality, you want to use something other than one of these cameras. However, there is a great deal to be said for the simplicity of using a simple camera and a simple microphone if you don't need the highest quality, because, say, most of your lecture is actually about slides or whiteboards or what you're drawing on the desk or whatever. So something to consider as an option for your videos.